Biblical Shakers, I took Independence Day to encourage the followers to begin a dedicated time of prayer for our nation and its leaders, and to do it every day. With the election soon approaching, we need to remember that our God is in charge and will hear our prayers of concern. I am in my colors today, asking you to please check out the extra blog posted on the 4th of July. There are 7 scriptural prayers, one for each day of the week. You can use them as a guide or pray your own prayer in. Let's band together in Christ-like strength for our nation. Now, on with the conclusion of 2 Corinthians. And it will be shared on the blog this week as we read chapters 10 through 13. Monday through Thursday, there will be a chapter assigned along with a posted devotion to go along with the reading. On Friday, you will find a list of differences between 1 Corinthians and the second book of Corinthians. Feel free to take some time and read the history of the blog and the authors. There is a place for comments if you would like to share a thought, and you can find it all at biblicalshakers.blogspot.com. Our reading in chapter 10 begins with Paul defending his authority. Satan seeks to blind mind in God's light, fortify minds against God's truth, and seduce minds from God's love. Paul gives us some practical counsel for victory in spiritual warfare. First, be Christ-like. Boldness must be balanced with meekness, for God's power is experienced in humility. Second, use spiritual weapons, the armor of the Lord, found in Ephesians 6, 1 through 20. Third, keep your eyes on the Lord. Fourth, accept the area of service God gives you. And finally, seek God's glory. Paul felt foolish rehearsing his credentials as a preacher of the gospel in chapter 12, but he thought he had to do this to silence the false teachers. He did not want to have the people lose their true love for Christ. Paul compares himself to a father with obligations to his spiritual children. Church leaders must protect the congregation from false teachers and also provide for them. Paul had the right to receive financial support at Corinth, but he set it aside and sacrificed for them in love. Do you appreciate the sacrifices that have been given to you? We do not know what Paul's thorn in the flesh was, but we do know that it was a hindrance to his ministry. Some say it was malaria, epilepsy, or a disease of the eyes, as we read in chapter 12. He prayed for its removal. God refused and promised to demonstrate his power in Paul. We must rely on God for our effectiveness rather than simply on our own energy, effort, and talent. Weakness deepens our Christian character and our worship. In the end, we see that Paul was concerned about the hearts of the Corinthians more than his own physical condition. As we conclude the book, we understand that Paul was calling the Corinthians to examine themselves to see if they really were Christians. Paul urges us to give ourselves spiritual checkups. We should look for a growing awareness of Christ's presence and power in our lives. It also means that we must comfort those we care about with personal concern when sin seems to be ruling over them. May we work at building Christian relationships and strengthening our churches. I pray that you have enjoyed these letters to the Corinthians written by Paul. This means that we will be going to another book of the Bible next week. You're going to have to check in and see which one it will be. And remember, Biblical Shakers makes reading the Bible way more enjoyable for you. And I pray the Lord will put a hunger on your heart.